Welcome to this edition of the Hoel Roofing and Remodeling Podcast. Today, special guest Joas Knepp with KnepCo Crane Services. Did I get that right?
KnepCo Crane Services.
KnepCo, I'm sorry, here. And we hired you guys on a job, and I can't even say that. So KnepCo Crane Service. And we're just going to talk about family, business, and just kind of, spotlight their business some and, hopefully throw some business their way. So if you want to start and just, tell us about your family, and then we'll get into some business details.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thanks a lot for having me on.
Absolutely.
Having me out. Born and raised in Rush County, southwest edge of Rush County. I grew up Amish. So the first 11 years of my life, I was Amish. We left around 2001. Something like that. I come from a big family. I've got 6 sisters and 1 brother. So me and my brother were pretty outnumbered in the household, but we had a good time. My family left in 2001. My dad, he had his own construction company for about 25 years. And when the housing market crashed in 2008, he had 4 or 5 cranes sitting around. And he decided he was going to try to put them to work and just started cold calling. And one thing led to another. And, here we are today.
So was he using the cranes like for work whenever he
projects,
needed it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but he wasn't doing anything for hire. And then when he started the crane business, it was all, just crane for hire.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit. There is a lot of Amish, and there's a lot of people that's left the Amish community. Our main gutter guy, Ray, he's Mennonite now. So I always have some pretty cool conversations, like deep conversations with Ray about, like what that was like and, that kind of stuff. So when you left, that was more your parents' decision because you were only 11 then, right?
Right.
Okay. So how was that transition into, did you guys go to Milroy school?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
We did. So, the transition was extremely difficult because I don't know how much you know about the Amish culture, but when you leave, they put you in what's called shunning.
Yep.
Where you can't have any access to your family or friends. And that was extremely difficult. That summer was one of my toughest summers because my next door neighbor, they were Amish. And they had a boy that was just like a year younger than I was. And we didn't get to, hang out when we'd be, seeing each other every single day. But every time I think about it, I thank my parents for making that decision, though.
Man, that had to be hard.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. And especially because you didn't move, like you stayed in the same house, right?
Right.
Yeah,
yep.
That's Now, did you try to negotiate so you didn't have to go to 12 years of school and go back to the 8 or not?
No, I was all in. My first couple of weeks of public school in Milroy Elementary, it was kind of tough getting adjusted because I didn't know anybody. But I had 2 wonderful teachers who just kind of like took me under their wing, and then I started to make friends, and then I was all in.
Nice.
And then especially on the modern conveniences like having air conditioning and watching TV and stuff like that it was fantastic. So I bought all in.
So I told you we never know where these podcasts go. So did you guys get electricity put in your house fairly soon once you left the Amish community?
So it was probably, I would say, a year or 2 before we got electricity in our house, just because it was, an old farmhouse.
Yep.
And it didn't have any wiring in it. So, we spent a year or 2 before we got electricity put in our house, but that was a game changer, having outlets on the wall and stuff like that.
Well, it was funny. So I was just renting an insulation machine off of Tree City Metals here earlier today, and we were having some problems with the one motor to run, and to the point I took it back and got their other machine. And I said, it's going to be pretty bad when the Amish figure out this electrical problem before this Englishman does.
Right.
And they start laughing. I do a lot of business with them, so they took it all in fun. So
yeah, good folks out there.
Yep, absolutely. So was your dad doing framing in 08 then?
Yep, wood framing.
Okay.
Yep, doing like apartment complexes. He started out building houses, these big, housing additions and stuff like that, but then he transitioned over to apartment complexes.
Okay. How big before the 08 crash, like how big a crew was he running?
So at his height in the construction business, he had 4 full crews.
Okay.
And we had job sites in Indianapolis and then in Louisville as well.
Okay. Yeah, because where you're at, I mean, Louisville really isn't much further than the north side of Indy. So, absolutely. So, what are you married? You got any kids?
I am married, yep.
Okay.
And I have 2 daughters, one of which was just born on the 12th of this month.
Congratulations.
So, thank you. I appreciate it. And family's a big blessing. My wife, Mary, she's the best person that I know. And she does really good about, like, my work gets extremely stressful. And she does a really good job about, keeping our house just peaceful.
Yep.
And a place of, rest and comfort. And so, yeah, got 2 young daughters. My oldest daughter is 2.5 years old, and she's going 1,000 miles an hour all over the place, which it's a fun age. And she's like her dad and doesn't have any patience whatsoever. When she wants something, she wants it right then and there. But it's a lot of fun.
So, I always laugh and say the worst part about parenting is when you have to discipline yourself out of your kids, or you watch them do something, and especially the older your kids get, you're like, oh, that's going to hurt. So my oldest is my boy, and he's 8. He'll be 9 here in May. And he is the biggest shit stirrer there is. And I got to take full responsibility for it. And so we went to we're Steelers fans, and we went to the Colts Steelers game, me, my wife, my son, and our sales rep, Nick, and Nick's a Colts fan. Well, Nick had a couple beers at the Colts game, and, the Steelers get up 13-0, and my son and my wife's just chirping at Nick, and I was like, guys, shut up. I said, it's first quarter, well, everybody knows how that game ended, and my boy, he was in tears, and Nick was so hammered that he just kept razzing him, and just kept on it. And my son's like, Mom, make him quit. I'm like, no, dude, you should have not talked crap the first quarter of the game. So yeah, that's it is hard. And then you as they grow, then you watch where oh my gosh, they get that from their mom, and then here they get my middle one looks just like her mom but acts just like me. So yeah. So you're gonna keep that a lot of girls trend up then, huh?
Yeah, yep. With having 6 sisters and then just having 2 daughters, and we're done after this.
Yep.
So yep, very well versed and have a lot of girls in the house.
So do you work with your dad then with the crane business? Okay.
Yeah, yep. So my dad's a majority owner.
Okay.
I'm a minority owner, but I handle all of our day-to-day operations, all the headaches, stuff that comes up on job sites. I handle all the scheduling. If our guys need anything, make sure to get that looked after. And then I still operate a crane about 50% of the time.
Okay.
So I've just recently started transition out of a crane because it's tough to run a business from the seat of a machine.
Yeah, it's absolutely, yes. And and as a small business owner, we struggle with letting go.
It's extremely difficult.
And especially my story is I sold for a couple big roofing companies in Indianapolis. So sales is just who I am. That gets me jacked up, going to go meet with customers. But I realize the importance of being behind the desk or, sending the sales guys out and answering their calls. I had a friend stop by and we had lunch, and one of my guys was FaceTiming me. I'm like, hey man, give me a second, because I knew he had a question and he wanted to show me something. So, but kind of speak of some of that, the transition and kind of the struggles of letting go of that.
Yeah. I started operating a crane when I was 20 years old, just right before my 21st birthday. And so, from sun up to sundown, 6 days a week, I was operating a crane. But we've added additional operators where they can, handle, those hours after hours in the seat. And, when you are a crane operator, you need to be focused, on the job and be doing a good job for the customer so they're getting their best bang for their buck. To circle back, how difficult it is to be, answering calls while you're in a crane seat. But so it's really tough for me, if I'll have, a site visit scheduled, meeting with some clients and stuff like that. And, we happen to have a crane back at the yard and a customer calls with an emergency job. It's extremely tough for me to say, you're going to have to wait until our next available date because, I've got these appointments I've got to hit. And, just stuff like that. And we'll have, certain difficult jobs or difficult customers that are kind of hard to work with who have preferential, they would prefer to have me in the seat or my dad or someone like that. I'm like, no, we have these other operators who are certified. They got plenty of hours in the seat. They're going to take great care of you, and so that's really tough. But it's been fun. It's what I want to do. I want to get completely out of a crane.
Yep.
And just handle all the management, scheduling, all that stuff, safety, insurance.
So how many guys you got running cranes for you?
So including me and my dad, we've got 8 guys. Okay.
So what's your main, like, I mean, I know you swung some trusses for us on a tornado damaged house. What is your normal, I guess there is no normacy in a small business, but kind of what is your main clients?
Main clients. So we've got, I'll just start from our smallest cranes, kind of what they do, and move to our big cranes. So we've got 5 cranes. We've got 3 45-ton cranes and then 2 110-ton cranes. The 45-ton cranes, those generally will swing trusses on houses or pole barns. We have a lot of Amish clients up north in Hagerstown who build a lot of pole barns. And so they'll have us out to swing the trusses, and then we have what's called a metal cradle, where they can load up their metal onto this cradle, set it on the pitch of the roof, and they could just reach over. And they do some massive barns. We just did like a 90 by 300.
Oh, wow.
A week and a half ago or something. So they keep us pretty busy with that. Our 45 tons also do a lot of like commercial steel erection and also residential steel erection, which that's a fairly new thing. Yep. These neighborhoods north of Indianapolis, like Carmel, Fishers, Zionsville, iron houses are really taking those suburbs by storm.
Really?
Yeah, it's wild. I thought you'd never see a house that's majority iron. It's really kind of surprising. But so that's been really good for us. We do a lot of HVAC stuff, rooftop units. Yep. We get into a lot of that. We do a little bit of tree removal. We try to kind of stay away from those. It's dangerous work. So that's generally what. And before I forget, our small cranes also do millwright crane work on like grain handling systems and stuff like that. They get really busy with that kind of work in the spring and in the fall. Mm-hmm. And so, the farmers have been great to us. It's nice to have that kind of work as well. Our 110-ton cranes. So obviously, much bigger machine. Our bread and butter with those is modulars.
Yep.
We'll get these modulars come in that are on a crawl space or even on a basement or something like that. We set up to 76-foot long modulars. They'll weigh like 44,000 pounds, something like that. And then these cranes will also do anything like mono towers, some cell tower stuff. We have this good client out of Kentucky who landed contracts to replace all these shelters that I don't know if you see these like concrete shelters that are at each cell tower site.
Okay.
And they're replacing like 80 of those. And we did some jobs for them here in Indiana, and we did a good enough job for them. They wanted to have us out to Kentucky, so we got that on contract for next year, which we're really excited about. So yeah, that's basically our bread and butter.
Nice. So family, any other family in the business working with your dad? Is there any siblings?
Nope. Just me and my dad. We're the only Knepps.
Okay.
And then our office lady, Nikki. She's out of Shelby County. She does a great job for us. And then we've got 3 guys out of Decatur County, and then we got one other guy in Rush County. I'm sorry, we got 4 guys out of Decatur County, and then one other guy out of Rush County.
Okay. Nice. No, that's it's always fun to hear, like, because like there's this certain things that you just don't think about. And that was like, even whenever I went to have Ray put them trusses up, he's like, no, we're just going to swing these with a crane. I'm like, okay. And like you guys came out and just freaking knocked it out. And I was like, it's pretty freaking cool, so, and just, especially as a small business owner, like, I know the importance of, taking care of the customer and like staying in your wheelhouse. And like you said, like the trees that's dangerous, right. So, and I'm thinking as a small business owner, like insurance too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yep. I'm like, tree trimmers are the ones that I'm glad I don't have to pay their insurance. I don't like my workman's comp as a roofing company, but I would most definitely not like that. So, your wife, you said your wife's name's Mary?
Yes.
Now, did she grow up Amish?
No, she did not. She grew up in Shelby County. She went to Waldron. The place that she grew up at was literally 10 minutes from our place that we live at now, where I grew up.
Okay.
So we didn't meet each other until 2013, something like that. And we dated for, I believe it was 6 years, got married in 2020.
Okay.
And then our first daughter was born in 2021. And, but yeah, so she's a stay-at-home mom right now, and she does an excellent job on that. I definitely couldn't do that job.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my poor wife, she signed up to be a stay-at-home mom, and now she's a office manager in here. Every once in a while, she reminds me of that. But no, we're actually working on getting her. We hired a guy to do our scheduling and to relieve some of that from her, because she was just, like you said, like your wife has a peaceful home. Like, there is so much value to that as an entrepreneur. Really, not even just as an entrepreneur, just as a husband. But when you said that, I'm like, yep, I know what you're talking about. We're big Dave Ramsey people around here, and Dave always says that. Like, his wife Sharon, he knew that stuff at home was taken care of, and and there is a piece of that of like, yes, work gets stressful, work is late, and especially like when they understand that, and that's another nice thing about if you're in the office more, you can have a little more flexibility to run over for lunch, or they can swing by. Like, it's running the crane, I guess, would be a little harder. Like, I always enjoy taking my kids to job sites. I had my son with me yesterday all day, and my son with me this morning when I was at a job site. So, and I get people that frown up, well, you're roofing and you have your kids. I'm like, are we going to complain about kids being lazy, or are we going to complain about you having your kids out, on a job site? So
yeah, well, that's great that you do that. I'm planning on doing that with my daughters too. Some of my favorite memories growing up was my dad taking me and my brother to work with them, and so yeah, I plan on implementing that as well. So
what what's the future look like for 2024 and beyond for you guys? Are you wanting to add more cranes, get into a different spectrum of the business, or kind of what's your guys' future look like? Yeah,
we definitely want to continue growing. Our trajectory has been really nice so far. Some jobs that we are trying to chase is what we call high profile jobs, where they're multiple day jobs. Like, the majority of our jobs that we have are just 1 day jobs.
Yep.
And a lot of times, like our 45-ton cranes, they'll hit multiple jobs in a day. And so the scheduling that comes along with that, when you're talking material delivery, site conditions, all that stuff, that's such a headache. And when you can have, a multiple day job, or, week-long job, 2-week job, it just makes it that much easier, because you drive the machine there, it's there, the operator's just got to get himself back and forth. So yeah, we're just trying to chase more high-profile jobs. The dog food plant north of us here has been great for us.
Nice.
They've been keeping one of our 45 tons extremely busy. They had one of our 110s out there. Let's see, we had it out there for a week. And then they have us out occasionally with our 110s, but it's been great. Good local work like that.
So what are you doing for them out there then?
So our 45 ton was erecting iron structures to hold what they call fat tanks.
Okay.
Where they bring fat in and render them in those tanks and stuff. So our 45 ton did the erection for the structures on the tank, and then we brought in our 110 to set the fat tanks.
Okay.
And then they've even before or right after they broke ground, they brought in all their Connex boxes, and they had our crane out there to unload their Connex boxes and all that good stuff. So
what did you help with the main warehouse building at all?
No.
Okay.
Well, I take that back. So the structures that are holding the fat tank are attached to the main building. So I guess technically, yeah, we did. Okay. We did help with the main building.
What high profile jobs are? Well, what is there? I know you say more like factory building stuff like that.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Yep. And then some of these factories, like we had one in Edinburgh just this past year. They had 17 rooftop units on top of it, and they wanted to just replace all of them. And so they had us out there, in which those are the type of jobs that we want, because generally there's parking lot and pavement all the way around the building, so we have good setup conditions. Yep. To get the crane in. It's not a whole bunch of mud and stuff like that. Like these modular sites. In spring and wintertime, these conditions are terrible, and almost always we've got to get the crane, tugged into its setup location. Got to get the counterweight truck pulled into its location, and it just makes the job a little bit more difficult. So, yeah, we're looking for multiple day jobs, and preferably set up on stone, concrete, or pavement. That's what we're looking for.
So, when you're talking about, so this is more a technical question for me, just curiosity. So when do you know, like, when it's unsafe on a condition? Like, I mean, I'm assuming you put out, is it a rigger? Is that what you consider it? What do you, when you stabilize?
Oh, yeah. Yep. So the crane has outriggers.
Outriggers, okay.
Yep. So they have outrigger beams that shoot out and then jacks that shoot down.
Yep.
And you get your machine leveled up. You need to have it level, almost perfectly level, to have safe operating conditions. Our rule of thumb is, if we pull into our setup area and our tires are cutting in, 4 to 6 inches or something like that, we tell our guys to get, extra cribbing underneath their outrigger float. Extra cribbing, widen your base, distribute the weight a little bit better. And so, I mean, it's a lot of times it's up to the operator to make that judgment call. When a crane call comes in, I ask, are there any site conditions that we should know about? If there's any underground vaults or trenches, something like that, we need to be made aware. And generally, the customer will let us know on that. Another big thing that we run into is power lines.
Yep.
And so, on existing buildings and stuff, you're going to have power lines, close to the building. And so, there's been times where we've had to, turn down a job just because, hey, there's no way we can get the crane boom up and be safe with this. So, yeah, just, ground conditions, power lines, stuff like that would be considered unsafe.
So, what does Joas like to do for, a little bit of relaxation or get away from running a crane or running the crane business?
I have one thing that I like to do, and that's golf.
Okay.
Yep, that's any free chance that I get that I'm not working or spending time with my family, you can catch me out on the golf course.
Okay. I wasn't going to guess that. So.
Yep. I used to play a lot of basketball, but me being a smaller guy, I relied on my speed and agility, and once you hit 30, that kind of goes out the window. So golf's a little bit more friendlier on the body.
So we do a little bit of spray coatings, like commercial roofing, and we went up to an event. The one guy, Warren, is a great dude. He has an event for his kind of team. It's under the Conklin brand. I don't know if you know what Conklin is, and anyways, we went up there, and there was a lot of Mennonite, Amish, ex-Amish up there, and my wife's pretty athletic, and I was always tall, so and I would hustle, I could hustle to make up the difference in the athletic, and we were playing volleyball, and I laughed. I'm like, honey, they've been playing since they could crawl. No wonder we're struggling to keep up with them. Plus, most of them were in their early 20s. So, yeah. I'll never forget, I played basketball. I worked for Dave Ramsey for about a year, and I turned 30. And the night before I turned 30, I went and played just some rec basketball with a bunch of guys from the team. And I woke up that next morning, and there was parts of my body hurting that I didn't even know I had. And, so, no, absolutely. Like you say, or you at least got to play, every once in a while, you can't go play 20-year-olds.
No. You got to play your similar age group.
Play 35, 40-year-olds, you know, when you're 30. But, absolutely. That's awesome. But is there anything else that we should know about you guys? Is there a way that we can, get out to our audience, to support a local business? Is there – because like I said, I didn't even think about it. And now I see your guys' trucks, and, I'm just more conscious and more aware of that kind of stuff. So what can we do to help you guys grow or get your name out there?
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, you guys put that video together for us. We greatly appreciate that, and having me out, here for the podcast, we greatly appreciate that. Any prospective customers that are needing a crane out there, with us, you're getting an honest, reliable, safe company. We try to stay as honest as we possibly can, whether it's scheduling, something like that. And, we're just a small family business. We're looking to, continue growing our business. And yeah, that's about it.
So how far do you guys go?
So, I mean, we go as far as the customer wants to pay us.
Okay.
We had a job out in Kentucky, Sand Knob, Kentucky. It was a 4-hour drive one way for a 2-hour job. And, you know, it was a hellacious mileage charge on it, but,
right.
you know, they didn't care. So, but we like to try to stay as local as we can. Obviously, like our bigger machines, you know, one of them, you know, without the counterweights on it, just going down the road weighs 119,000 pounds. So permitting is a pain in the butt, you know, to get a permit for it. So, I mean, we try to stay as local as we can, but we've got to go where the work
right,
is.
Right.
So.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's one question we always have. And that's the worst thing about being in a small town is like some people get it in your mindset. Like we'll have people call from Connersville. Hey, do you guys come to Connersville? Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes, we do. Like we were in Dayton, Ohio 2 weeks ago, you know, so, you know, that's always one thing that I had somebody reach out and they're like, that's actually how I landed the first job in Dayton. It was a connection I had from a roofing a few other apartment complexes. And the lady reached out. She's like, would you come to Dayton? I'm like, yes, you know, so it's always important to make sure that people know that because, like I said, that's our one question that aggravates me sometimes. It's like, well, I didn't know if you'd come to Richmond. Yep, we're in Richmond a lot, or what, you know, whatever that looks like. And you know, you say you're going to Hagerstown from your place is probably an hour and 15 minutes. I mean, that's a little bit of a drive. My wife's from Centerville, so you know, that's more kind of up in her neck of the woods. So. But, yeah, no, appreciate you coming in. Appreciate the service that you gave us when you helped us out. Hopefully probably have you out to swing some trusses. We're in the process of starting to build a house. We got a septic tank in. We're getting some groundwork done now. So, we'll be reaching out.
Yeah, look forward to that. Yep. And, thanks for the good business that you guys run. You guys are out working on my place right now.
Okay.
Not today, but your guys were out a couple days ago working on the roof and stuff. And Jonathan, he does a really good job.
Awesome.
Keeping me updated on what the guys are doing. And it sounds like you have a top-notch run organization here.
Thank you. I got a badass team, man. It's all. Yeah. You said something about the video earlier. That was Adam. You wouldn't want my video. Jonathan's fantastic, and we've got. And our main roofing crew's been with us 5 years, and I hang my hat on that. Like that's, you know, we had them over for Christmas presents and stuff like that. Because I mean, yes, they're subcontractors, but man, they're extremely loyal to us and do a good job for us. So
well, good, and that's the name of the game: taking care of your people, and you know if they're going to do a good job for you, you know, make sure and take good care of them.
Absolutely. Appreciate you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to this edition of the Whole Roofing Remodeling Podcast.